Welcome, everybody, to our Pseudo Short number 2. I'm your podcast host, Josh Kaiser, and joining me today, Mr. Josh Addix.
How's everybody doing?
And Kyle Hoagland.
What is going on?
So, as you guys may or may not know, this is our Pseudo Short. It's sort of our mini podcast we do on the off weeks that we're not doing our 90-minute show. And this week's podcast topic, we're going to be breaking down the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 51 is this weekend. This
is
Sunday.
It? Oh, shit.
It sure is. So we're just going to kind of talk about, the big storylines, our thoughts, all that kind of thing, and then end the show with our predictions. So let's just jump right into it, guys. Falcons-Patriots. Are you guys excited for this one?
I am. I think it's going to be a lot more exciting than last year's Super Bowl.
See, I liked last year's Super Bowl mainly because I like defense. I also like to see Cam Newton bite it. So last year was actually, to me, a good Super Bowl. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited for it. I like that both teams, I think, are a little bit more tooled as far as offense is concerned. A lot, like the last couple of years, it seems like it's been like the offense versus like the number one offense versus the number one defense. A lot like that's been kind of the trend the past like 3 or 4 Super Bowls. So it's kind of interesting that this year is not going to be the case at all. And I think the over under is 57 as far as total score. So and I think the Patriots are favored by 3, so that's 30-27 is what a lot of people are saying the score is going to be. So that seems like a pretty high-scoring Super Bowl.
Yeah. The line is 3 right now. I know that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it opened up about that, too.
High scoring, but both sides, so which should be good.
And, what you were saying, Kyle, the one thing I will say is the Patriots have a better defense than I think people give them credit for. I mean, they are the number 1 ranked defense. So, I mean, you don't think of that, but they really are. So it is the number 1 offense versus the number 1 defense. But the reason you don't think of it that way is because the Patriots have such a good offense that they really just have a very good team.
Well, I think what I mean by is that they don't have a prolific defense. I think the last 4 years we've had, one of the basically the best offense versus the prolific defense. That's not the case. I mean, as good as maybe their defense is, it's kind of under the radar good. And at the same time, though, I mean, yeah, the Falcons gave up a lot of points towards the beginning, but they've done very well in the playoffs. I think they're really good at knocking morale down to the other team because they hit the ground running so fast. Good example was the Packers 2 weeks ago. That was the hottest team in football until the Falcons embarrassed them. So, I mean, they don't have an incompetent defense. Yes, Patriots probably have a better defense, but it's not. I think they'll have a plan. And
I think part of the Falcons' defense situation or problem, if you want to call it that, is that they are the defense of an explosive offense that just throws up points. So you score that much points, and you're going to have it. Your defense is just, the opposing offenses are just going to have so many chances to go against them because the Falcons' offense keeps scoring that the defense is going to give up points here and there because they physically cannot stop them every drive. So, that's part of the reason why their defense maybe is not thought of as good, but you're right. They're not a bad defense. I think their rank doesn't do them justice of where they should be. They're not an awesome defense. I don't expect them to totally shut down Tom Brady myself, but to your point, they did shut down Aaron Rodgers and that offense, or at least kept them from scoring for the most part. I think they moved the ball.
Most of the scoring happened when it was already written that they were done. I think they scored 2 touchdowns kind of towards the end of the game. So Aaron Rodgers got his numbers, and I think Jordy Nelson got his numbers, but that was when the game was far too out of reach.
Well, it started. I mean, they shot themselves in the foot a few times early on. The Packers did because they were moving the ball well early on, and then a fumble here. And a missed field goal there. Next thing you know, what could have been a 14-10 game turned out to be, 21-28 nothing, something to that effect, because the Packers just blew their scoring opportunities. So a little of both there. But before we kind of break down the matchups, preseason picks, I had the Packers and the Patriots. I don't remember exactly who you guys. I think Haddix, you might have had Patriots Seahawks or something.
Yeah, preseason, that's what I had, yeah.
And Hoagie, I think you had Steelers Packers, if I recall.
Yes.
So, I mean, we were kind of all right there. We had, three out of the four teams that were kind of the final four for the most part. I gotta say, I think us, and we're not alone in it, we're completely wrong on the Falcons this year. And
I think I said the Falcons are going to be near the bottom of the standings. For what is that, the
NFC South? Yeah, because I think we all thought Carolina would win the division again. We thought the Saints might have a shot. Hoagie, I remember the Buccaneers were kind of your dark horse pick, and they were fighting there. They didn't get eliminated out of the playoffs till late in the season, but I think we all wrote the Falcons off, and we were wrong, to say the least.
Well, I think this is like the first time that Matt Ryan has stayed hot the whole season. I mean, they've always done well, and then they always lose in the playoffs. The first game in the playoffs or barely missed the playoffs.
Yeah, that was their MO for a while under Mike Smith, is they were like one and done. And even that was even when they'd have first round buys and things like that. The first, I think they won. I think Matt Ryan up until this playoff had only won one previous playoff game maybe in his career. But that said, I don't think any of us really even thought that. It was almost like the Matt Ryan Atlanta Falcon era of good football was maybe over. That window had kind of closed. Roddy White was gone. Tony Gonzalez was gone. And you start to wonder if that was just wasted, some wasted years. And here they are. Like you said, he never won. Their issue last year is they started out hot and then they just started to flounder and eventually fail.
They did, however, that was North Carolina. The Carolina Panthers' only loss last year, right? Was the Falcons? Didn't they break
sounds
the
right, yeah.
undefeated
16 or something like that, yeah.
Yeah. It was basically all they did, but
yeah. I mean, the Carolina Panthers' other loss was, of course, in the Super Bowl, but
well, yeah.
If I recall, too, that was an ugly game, the Falcons-Panthers game.
I think it was ugly all around. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I don't think I think the Falcons. It was a low scoring, maybe under 20 kind of affair. But okay, so that said, the Falcons are there. I don't know if we really need to say the Patriots. There's a surprise. You and I had them there, Haddix. Hoagie, I think you had them in the AFC Championship. I think
I got the AFC Championship game correct. I just had the Steelers beating the Patriots
winner.
instead of the other way around. Yeah,
and I mean, it's just this is their 7th Super Bowl now under the Brady Belichick era.
And isn't this the 10th Super Bowl Belichick's been a part of?
10th or 11th, yeah.
Something
as far as a coach goes, which is just insane.
Yeah, I think isn't this so Brady's won 4. He has 4 Super Bowl rings, correct?
He has 4 rings.
He's lost
2.
twice to the Giants.
To the Giants, yeah.
So this is his.
I mean, impressive.
It's very impressive, and I mean, they've dominated the AFC for the last 15, 16 years. I mean, it's just insane what they've been able to do. And you look at I don't know. People sit here and be like, "Oh, Patriots earned it again." But if you really sit back and appreciate it, it's like, wow. Like you look at these other teams, the Broncos, who have been, went to a couple of Super Bowls here under Peyton Manning. And then all of a sudden, they missed the playoffs this year. The Panthers lost 2 games last year, one of them being the Super Bowl. They're not even in the playoffs this year. And, that's a common trend is, there's a lot of turnover. Teams don't stay successful for long periods of time. And for the Patriots to not only stay relevant and, keep themselves, sort of like a Cincinnati Bengals who over the last 7 or 8 seasons have had decent success, the Patriots have dominated. They've dominated their division, and they've dominated the AFC in general. And here they are, back at it again. And it's just, at some point in 5 or 10 years, we're going to look back and, after when Belichick finally hangs it up, Brady hangs it up, you're going to sit back and realize, like, wow, this was just a hell of a dynasty.
And it's why everyone hates him. I mean, people always toss out the cheating and stuff like that, but if they weren't winning, no one would give two shits about that because it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, the football thing, so many stories came out that balls are always deflated and
well,
things like that.
Well, it's like the Steelers got in trouble for that, and that story died.
Yeah, because it's dumb. It's stupid, but because they dominate, you love to hate the best team. You know what I mean? So, and that's why everyone hates the Patriots because they just constantly beat people.
And it's like they find a new excuse. Oh, they did this. Guess what? Then they turn around and still dominate. Okay, well then you can't do this. They turn around and dominate again. So eventually you just have to, tip your hat and say, hey, these guys know what they're doing.
And just like a quick thing with the Patriots too, since 2001 and 2002 season, so we're going all the way down to now as far as the AFC Championship game. So you're saying that Tom Brady this is going to be his 7th Super Bowl. But if you look at it, this could have easily been, he's been in the AFC Championship game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's been to 11 AFC Championship games.
I was thinking 12, so 11, that sounds about right. Which is insane. Absolutely insane.
He's only missed 4. The Patriots have only missed 4 since 2000.
And one of those, he had a season-ending injury, and they missed the
Matt
playoffs.
Castle couldn't make it through.
They missed the playoffs at 11 with an 11-5 record, which is just crazy in its own right. So okay, one more Patriots stat because I thought it was really interesting is the Patriots won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. 30 of their 53 on their starting roster was not part of that team. I mean, that's crazy to me.
Wow, it's a
crazy. That's one crazy thing about that team is that is a true it starts at the top. It starts at the top with Bill Belichick, and obviously having someone like Tom Brady, questionably the greatest quarterback of all time. Statistically, you have to say he is at this point, especially if he wins this Super Bowl. I think the only thing that people were just questioning was the can he pass Joe Montana for Super Bowls? But at this point, they always had, other than maybe Gronk the past 6-7 years, they have not had the same roster, and it's crazy impressive that they're able to get players when they're at their best, and they have a great coaching staff, and they get everybody prepared for each week to take on whoever they're taking on, and they're easily able to bring people into a very simple system. It seems like that's the one thing I think that I've heard and read about as far as new people getting into New England. Just said that it's crazy how other people are being so creative and making having schemes that are so complicating because for the sake of being complicating. And they said that you go right in there and it's just like fitting into it's like just fitting into a jigsaw puzzle that only needs one more piece to be complete.
Well, speaking of complicated, we can go to the other side of the board here, and that's the Atlanta Falcons offense, which is, Kyle Shanahan. It's their second year under him as their offensive coordinator, and he's the offensive guru. Hoagie, you're going to love him for your San Francisco 49ers next year when he's their head coach. But one thing I read is they ran 27 different offensive formations against the Packers before they repeated a single formation. So, Jesus, wow. To your point, it's very complicated. There's a lot of terminology. And, 2 years with Matt Ryan under there, learning that offense, he finally feels comfortable in it. So you can see that it's, there's success to be had, but you need to have smart players. You need to be able to, kind of develop it. And, that's why Matt Ryan's had an MVP season, and I think will be the MVP when the awards are given out.
You think he's going to be the MVP?
I do. I at this point, I think there was a shot for Aaron Rodgers, but that matchup, while postseason's not supposed to play a role in it, that was enough to solidify Matt Ryan as our MVP.
I mean, I could see it. I could definitely see it.
I think what people have said the top 4. I think Aaron Rodgers. I think still is in the number 4 at this point. But I know that there's been a lot of talk with Julio Jones and obviously Tom Brady, just for the sake of how great he's been and not playing in the first 4 games, and how important he was when they came back.
Well, I mean, they also went 3-1 without him. I think it's because he is Tom Brady. It's like the LeBron James thing in basketball. I don't think Tom wins it. I think it's Matt Ryan. I think then it goes to Aaron Rodgers. I think Brady's 3, and I think 4 is either Dak or Zeke, depending on how they split the vote from each other. And they're probably 4 and 5. But that's where I see it finishing. And I think Matt Ryan is the MVP, and I think deservedly so. He's had a great season, all 16 games. To your point, Kyle, Julio Jones has been fantastic this year, but Matt Ryan's dishing it out to everybody. So it's not like that Calvin Johnson year where Calvin Johnson had 2,200 yards or whatever it was, and Stafford really didn't hit anyone else. Like it's while Julio Jones is the best receiver on that team, he's also kind of giving it.
He's dumped it off a lot to us. They have a dual running back scheme. They both get a lot of catches. Mohamed Sanu, I think, had a career year being in the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, I know Taylor Gabriel did.
Taylor Gabriel. Sure. Yeah.
Well, the only reason all these players even have a chance is because my boy Harry Douglas left. So
that's true. He was really eating all the targets up.
So Julio Jones needs to thank Harry Douglas. All right.
The unsung hero of that Falcons, and I say that, but he's getting all the credit in the world, and deservedly so, is Alex Mack as their center, the former Cleveland Brown, signed there in the offseason. I think he just helped solidify that line. He had the experience with Kyle Shanahan, so he knew what he was getting himself into. And that was one of their issues last year, is they couldn't protect Matt Ryan, and now they have, probably the best center in the league, if not one of the top 2 or 3 best centers in the league, and has really made a world of difference for them on that offense. And, to their credit, they have the number 1 ranked offense. So that said, guys, what matchups, what are you looking for in this Super Bowl? What stands out to you that you're really keeping an eye on?
I'm curious to see if they double up on Julio or if they think that they're able to do single coverage on him, because like we've already said, Matt Ryan dishes the ball out everywhere. So the moment that you decide to double up on Julio is when you're going to see a lot of short passes, and you're going to see the running backs get 100 yards catching receiving, and there's Mohamed Sanu can easily break a 60-yard catch, and Taylor Gabriel is really quick after the catch, so they don't need Matt Ryan to rifle the ball and fling it down 50 yards. They've got a lot of guys that are definitely capable of catching the ball at 4 or 5 yards and getting a lot of yards afterwards. So that's my curious thing is how's the secondary going to react? I think Atlanta's offensive line is good enough that I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of penetration to Matt Ryan. So I think what they're going to have to do is confuse him and keep him second guessing and trying to go to his second and third choices. Because if he's able to get all the the viewing space he wants, and they're going to double up on Julio Jones, I mean he's going to have plenty of choices.
Yeah, and I think they will double up on Julio. That's always seems to be the way Belichick and the Patriots run their defense is who's the number 1 playmaker on that offense. Take him out of the equation, then make the other guys beat him. So I think that's going to be key is how the rest of the guys react and how they're able to work it. But I do think Julio is going to get smothered a lot on Sunday.
Yeah, I think Bill does. I feel like that's always Bill's game plan. Although the one thing Atlanta has going for them, like Hoagie spoke of earlier, is they're 2 explosive running backs and also very capable other wide receivers. So it'll be interesting to see how the Patriots handle all that. It's not like shutting down Julio Jones is going to be the end of the ball game. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely not. Haddix, what are your thoughts on this Patriots offense? It seems like every week they have a different guy who goes shines.
Off like
it was Chris Hogan. Chris Hogan, tore it up in this last game, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. For all you know, this Sunday he's going to have 2 catches for 14 yards, and that'll be it. And it wouldn't surprise anybody if that's what happens.
Oh no, that's what always happens.
It could easily be a Julian Edelman game. Freaking Danny Amendola could go off out of nowhere, And it's interesting to me. So who's your surprise Patriot, or even not surprise? Who do you think is the Patriot offensive player.
I think Edelman will be maybe not the most yards or anything. I think he'll have the most clutch plays. I feel like that's Tom's security blanket a little bit, you know. And
well, Gronk would probably be a security blanket, but he won't have that.
Well, I mean, no. Yeah. If Gronk was playing, Gronk would hands down be
and they've
the
been
best.
doing this, you know, Gronkowski hasn't been part of this team for majority of the season, so they've continued to have success. You know, it's the next man up mentality there. I
think Edelman's hard to guard, just because his quickness and he can do all kinds of stuff. So I just have a feeling that Edelman and are possibly out of the backfield, like my boy Dion
Lewis. Okay, yeah, who had an explosive game a couple weeks ago against Houston, a 3-touchdown game, and then same thing. He had a 3-touchdown game, and I think he was behind both Blunt and James White in carries against Pittsburgh. So you never know what to expect with this team. They always bring something different every week. You know they're going to be well coached, and that's one thing. Experience is heavily on the Patriots side. Like I said, maybe 30 of these players haven't played in the Super Bowl, but those other 23 have, and those other 23 are probably veterans, like probably the core of those teams. You know, your Tom Brady, for instance, the Julian Edelman, you know, some of these defensive players like Malcolm Butler. And then you look at the Falcons, and there is little to no playoff experience and definitely Super Bowl experience. So, you know, Dan Quinn, he's coached in a Super Bowl, you know, as a defensive coordinator for the Seahawks. So he has the experience there. But they're definitely the advantage there is heavily to the Patriots, I think.
Yeah, I think on that like note, I think that the Falcons more so than the Patriots need to make sure that they keep the game close. I think the Patriots could come back from a 2, maybe even a 3-touchdown deficit because I think they have that experience. They can keep that composure. I think if the Falcons get down by too much too quick, they'll self-implode and the Patriots will just go nuts all over them.
Right, and to your point, that Seahawks game when the Patriots won 2 years ago, they were down 10, 12 points in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, and they came back and won. So it's definitely nothing phases, you know, Tom and that team. So I agree with you that the Falcons can't let this game get out of hand. If they do, it could be an ugly game.
Yeah.
That said, let's go around the room, pick your one X factor, and then we'll finish up by giving our predictions for the Super Bowl. Hoagie, your X factor.
My X factor is, which maybe it's not so much X factor. It's we already talked about the Atlanta Falcons offensive line. I think as we've already talked about how Alex Mack, former Brown, great center. It's a shame we couldn't keep him. But I think that's going to be the biggest thing right now is if Matt Ryan has the vision in the field and doesn't have to worry about guys coming around the corners to come after him, and he feels comfortable in the pocket because he's not much of a scrambler. So he's definitely a pocket passer, and if he can stand in there and do whatever he wants, definitely I would say the Falcons have the much higher ceiling of being able to make this a blowout than the Patriots. Not saying the Patriots don't have a great offense, but the Falcons like to get started real quick, and I feel like the Patriots are more of a second half type of team. So if they can keep the defense, if the offensive line can make it a secondary game where it's the wide receivers going one-on-one in the two-headed monster of Atlanta and the running, as far as for the running backs, if they all have to go one-on-one with mostly everybody, I think the advantage actually goes to Atlanta.
Yeah, the offensive line is definitely something to keep an eye on for sure. Haddix, how about you?
I'll keep it simple, and it might be a little biased, but Tom Brady's my X factor.
All right,
it's kind of a tough X factor.
If hardcore Tom shows up, dude, who's just in the zone and yelling in a good way. I don't think the Falcons have a chance. Tom's just dirty.
My X factor is Malcolm Mitchell, the rookie wide receiver for the Patriots. I believe I read a stat that Tom Brady has never completed a pass to a rookie wide receiver in the Super Bowl before. I think Malcolm Mitchell has a big game, so I think that's going to be the guy to keep an eye because, you're paying attention to Julian Edelman, you're watching Chris Hogan after his last great game, and you're going to get burned by Malcolm Mitchell. That said, guys, prediction time. Hoagie?
Well, it doesn't really sound like I've been kind of more on the Atlanta Falcons side, and if the line is 57, if that's what they say it is, then I don't see. If the Falcons can put up almost 30 points, I think it goes to them. I think if the Patriots are to win this game, they need to keep it close and keep it low, and then be able to come back and take care of business in the second half. If the score is already. If Atlanta's already got 20 points, maybe something like that, 17-21 going into the half, it's their game. So if I had to pick right now, I actually give Atlanta the advantage.
Well, you do have to pick right now because we're asking predictions.
Yeah.
In fact, that's exactly what I'm asking you to do. My
score is 34-24 Falcons.
That hits the 58 that the over under currently is at too. So nice job, Kyle.
Yep.
Way to push.
Thanks.
Haddix?
Patriots. And if I had to pick score, I'd say 27-21 Patriots.
I'm going Patriots 31-24. I think this is. I just think they're the more experienced team, and I think it's going to show. They're going to get a couple picks on Matt Ryan, and maybe Kyle Shanahan's a little distracted with all this San Francisco talk. So
this guy's getting.
I think the other interesting thing that we keep forgetting about, we give these scores. I think we all did it. I look back at when the Saints took on the Colts, and that was basically, I actually give them those two teams having much more explosive overall offenses than what we're dealing with this Super Bowl, and that final score was like 31-17 in favor of the Saints, and a lot of people thought that was going to be like a 30-plus game on both sides going into it too, and I think what a lot of people realize, even though as much experience as the Patriots have, and then the obvious that the Atlanta really doesn't have any at all. We all are giving these guys a lot of points. I mean, this also can easily be like a 16-12 game.
Oh yeah, it could be. Yeah,
it could. I don't see it happening, but it could. That said, that's going to be our podcast this week. Keeping to the tone of the Pseudo short. That said, join us back next week as we got a full 90-minute show for you. Don't forget, go subscribe on iTunes, Twitter, all that, pseudonerdpod.com for all of our social media. From the Great Lakes to the Golden Gate, I'm Josh Kaiser, he is Josh Haddix, and he is Kyle Hogan, and we will see you guys next time.
Have a good Friday.
See you.